we're going to talk about the song The Rainbow Connection, written by Jim Henson. And I think it's in the Muppet movie, the original, the first one, I guess. It's the scene with Kermit the Frog sitting in the swamp playing a tiny banjo. It's very cute. It's a very sweet song, and I like it a lot. And it's got some really pretty chord progression stuff happening, but maybe some chord voicings and some fingerings that are a little unfamiliar. So if you click the link at the bottom in the description of this video, you can find the chord chart that we're using from druke.com. Some important things to note at the beginning. This song is in 3/4, or it's in like a 3-beat pattern. So when I strum it, I'm going like down, down, up, down. So you're thinking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, kind of like that. It's got sort of a rocking kind of motion. So yeah, and you could just start with a simple pattern like that: down, down, up, down, up. Anything that is pretty simple and fits in 3 beats, because we do have quite a few chord changes to handle. So let's go ahead and look at the intro. There are 2 chords, G major and what says D7 sus, and we're going to play each of those for 3 beats. The D7 sus has a lot of dots on it for where you should put your fingers. What I like to do so this is basically like if you know the D7 bar chord, where you bar the 2nd fret and then you also press on the 3rd fret where you would kind of make a C chord. This is what's called a suspension. So it's adding like a little color to this that creates tension that needs to be released back, back to a D7 chord. There's a lot of ways there's a lot of suspensions that you can use. The basic idea is that you're still technically playing a D chord, but it's got a little extra flavor that makes it sound kind of wistful, I guess, if you want to attach an emotion to it. But the intro is going to sound like this. We're going to go 3 beats on G and 3 beats on this D7 sus. So what you can do is bar the 2nd fret and then play the 3rd fret of the A string. You also want to play the 3rd fret of the E string. You can kind of hear how it goes from the sus and resolves to a regular D7 chord. So yeah, you can bar, maybe do the 3rd fret of the bottom string, or the A string with your ring finger, and the 3rd fret of the E string with your middle finger. Something else that I find myself doing is, since I'm coming right to it, something I find myself doing with this chord progression is going from a G chord to the D7 sus by adding my pinky finger basically to the G chord, so that my pinky finger plays the 3rd fret of the A string. I'm still holding onto my G chord, and then I sort of reach my finger up so that basically I'm barring the rest of the 2nd fret where I haven't been touching it. So it kind of looks like that, and I don't have to move my hand a whole lot. Another way you could play that D7 sus chord is by barring the 2nd fret with your pointer finger, and then maybe playing the 3rd frets of the E and A strings respectively with your middle and ring fingers, like that. So let's go through the intro really slowly. 3 beats on each chord. 1, 2, 3. G, D7 sus, G, D7 sus, G, D7 sus, G, D7 sus. Just like that. And we played the whole intro twice, but you want to practice that that transition, because every time we play through all the verses and go back to the top, that's kind of our we're going to kind of go back to that intro before we start singing the next verse. Cool. So once we start singing the verses, we have more chords in the mix. Let's just go through each one of them and try to give them sort of space them out like 3 beats slowly at a time. So here are the chords of the verse, and you can play along if you find the music follow the link below and grab the chord chart. So I'll call out the chords as we go through them. 1, 2, 3. G, E minor, A minor, D7, G, E minor, C, and then the C goes to a D7 sus. We're going to stop there for a second. That's kind of halfway through that first part. When you go from the C to the D7 sus, if you play your C with your ring finger, like I usually do, then you just want to add the rest of the fingers to the D7 sus. So keep your ring finger where it is on the 3rd fret of the A string. Add your middle finger to the fret, to the string above it. So you're at the 3rd fret of the E string. Then you also want to bar with your pointer finger the rest of the 2nd fret. So you're going from C to D7 sus, like that. So let's go ahead and play through just that top line. So I'll sing the first verse until we get to our stopping point, and then we'll finish the rest of it. So here we go. Starting on G, why are there so many songs about rainbows? 1, 2, 3. Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side? Cool. So that's that little chunk. The next one, rainbows are visions but only illusions. That line starts again on G. Goes G, E minor, A minor, D7, G, E minor, C. And we're going to play that C twice, so for a total of 6 beats before we get to the next section of the song. So it's a lot like the first line. Let's go ahead and play through it together just to make sure we got it. 1, 2, 3. Rainbows are visions, but only illusions. And rainbows have nothing to hide. Right. So we can call that maybe like the A section. I think of this song as having like 2 distinct sections. There's that part that we just did, the A section, and then there's the B section, which sounds a little bit different. So there are a couple of chords. There's actually only 2 chords in this line, so we've been told, and some choose to believe it. That's where we are. And the first chord you see here is a C6, which is kind of easy if you're playing with a strap. No fretted notes. It's just you're just going to strum your strings without fretting anything. And that is followed by a C major 9, which kind of looks like, if you know the Hawaiian D7 shape, or like the 2-finger D7 shape, it's that same shape, but instead of doing it up here, we're going to do it down here. So you're on the 2nd fret of the C string and the 2nd fret of the A string. So we have this alternation between the C6 and the C major 9. And what I like to do is go 3 beats for most of them. C6 gets 3 beats. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then the last 2 over Choose to Believe It, that line, the C major 9 and the C6. What I like to do there is play the C major 9 for beat 1, and then for beats 2 and 3 go to the C6. So I feel like it kind of fits with the syllables that I'm singing. So it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3. So we've been told, and some choose to believe it. So it's on believe it. Yeah. And the next line kind of does the same thing, where you have a chord, the note names stay the same between the two chords, but the numbers change. And what that means is that like the little extra flavors that you're adding on are changing. Maybe they're kind of following what your voice is doing. So like here, we start with the B minor 7, which is a bar all the way across the second fret of your uke, and then a B minor 11, where we just add your ring finger to the third fret of the C string. So there's B minor 7, B minor 11, and you can kind of hear this one note change. Just that little change, keeps it from being too samey while we're singing over all these B minor chords. This also has a timing thing that I think is cool. I'm going to do that first B minor 7 for 3 beats, and then 3 on the B minor 11, and then 3 on the B minor 7 again, and then we have B minor 11, B minor 7, and then B flat minor 7. What I'm going to do there is I'm going to play each of those for one beat, so they all fit into the one bar. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, like that. It sounds a little weird out of context, but this is your B minor 7 at the second fret. So if you take this shape and slide it down to the first fret, that's B flat minor 7. It's like the same shape, same chord, but starting in a different place. So that very last piece will go 11, so B minor 11, B minor 7, B flat minor 7. So with the lyrics, it'll sound like this. 1, 2, 3. I know they're wrong, wait and see. 1, 2, 3, like that. And then there's the last line of these verses. A minor 7, also no fingers. Sometimes chords share the same fingering, or lack of fingers in this case. But they'll have different names. It's really context based. It kind of depends on, maybe those chords are spelled with all the same notes, but you're emphasizing one or the other of them. You don't have to worry about it too much, but just know that, C6 and A minor 7 are played the same way. It's more of an issue of musical grammar than anything else. Okay, so this last line, someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. And then it ends with back to just what we did for the intro with the G and the D7 sus. So those chords again, we have A minor 7, and then again we have our D7 bar chord. We also have B minor 7, and then E7. I really like this chord. I'm not sure why. I just think it sounds cool. And then the lovers is A minor 7. The dreamers is D7, and then and me on G. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and we'll go back to the top and do the next verse. There's 3 verses total, but they all follow that same format. So let's go ahead and jump to the end. After you sing your third verse, you'll see the word, coda in parentheses. So there, instead of going to the someday we'll find it line where you repeat back to the top, go all the way down to the bottom of the page where it says coda. And this will take us, this is the last thing we'll do in the song. So basically, it's just like every time we've sung Someday We'll Find It, the Rainbow Connection, but it's got a little extra stuff after. So it starts the same way. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me, just like we did before. But instead of going back to our sort of intro loop, when we do the lovers, the dreamers, and me, we'll give that G chord over me 3 beats, and we'll keep going to the la da da dee da da dum, la da da dee da da da. There's just like a little ditty at the end with some pretty familiar chords: D major, G major, G7. Yep, G7. There it is. There it is. A minor 7, D7, and then G. So altogether, that coda sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. Someday we'll find it, the rainbow connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da 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 da, la da da da. You can just end on that G chord, just strum it and let it go. That's it. This is a really pretty song. I like it a lot. Sometimes it makes me cry. I hope you like it too. Have fun.